Power is rarely found in loud declarations or desperate defenses. True strength lives in the silent confidence of those who do not explain themselves, who move through life with an aura that demands respect without asking for it. This silence is not emptiness. It is a weapon sharper than any word. When you master the art of restraint, others feel it. They sense that behind your quiet presence lies a depth they cannot measure. And in that uncertainty, respect is born, sometimes mixed with fear, always wrapped in intrigue. Silence transforms into a fortress no one can breach. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He observed rulers and leaders who spoke too much and fell, while those who chose their words carefully or withheld them entirely rose to positions of dominance. Silence was not weakness, it was strategy. Every moment you explain yourself, you surrender power. Every time you defend yourself, you reveal insecurity. And every attempt to justify your choices is an invitation for others to judge or control you. The strong man allows his actions to echo louder than excuses. This philosophy is not about coldness, it is about precision. Your silence forces others to fill the void with their own assumptions, and in doing so, they reveal their fears, desires, and weaknesses. You remain unreadable, untouchable, unshakable. Imagine walking into a room where whispers swirl, yet you remain silent. People turn to you, trying to decipher your expression, your intentions. They cannot control what they cannot predict. This is the hidden current of power that silence creates. In this video, you will uncover Machiavelli's timeless secret: how to dominate without speaking, how to project unbreakable confidence without defense, and how to command respect without ever asking for it. This is the path to becoming truly untouchable. The first mistake most people make when confronted is to justify themselves. They rush to explain, to clear doubts, to prove their worth. Yet in doing so, they step directly into the trap of weakness. Justification reveals a hidden fear, the fear of being misunderstood or rejected. When you explain too much, you hand over your power like coins scattered at someone else's feet. Those who listen realize they control you, because your self-worth depends on their approval. This is the beginning of submission, and it happens quietly, disguised as honesty. Machiavelli observed that rulers who constantly defended their decisions lost authority. The more they spoke, the smaller they became. The wise understood that silence, or minimal words spoken with weight, carried far more influence than long-winded explanations. Silence in the face of accusations is unsettling. It forces the other person to sit with their own assumptions. They expect resistance, yet receive nothing. In that moment, their words lose impact, and the energy of confrontation begins to dissolve. When you refuse to explain, you shift the burden. The one who demands justification becomes the one exposed. Their insistence begins to look insecure, their arguments weaker, and their need for validation becomes painfully obvious. This is why great leaders, negotiators, and thinkers throughout history valued restraint. They knew that silence commands attention, while over-explaining invites disrespect. To master silence is to master presence, and presence is the essence of authority. The trap of justification will always exist, waiting for you to step into it. But when you recognize it and choose instead to remain unmoved, you declare something far greater than words ever could, that your value is not up for debate. Whenever you try to defend yourself, you are already playing a losing game. Defense places you in reaction, while power lives in action. The very act of defending suggests that the accusation has weight, even if it is false. By responding, you give life to the very thing you wanted to kill. The illusion of defense is that it makes you look strong, when in reality it exposes vulnerability. To say, "I am not guilty," is to admit that you feel accused. To insist, "I am not weak," is to reveal that weakness haunts your mind. What you resist, you amplify. Machiavelli understood this paradox well. He advised princes never to lower themselves into explanations. The crowd does not remember arguments, they remember presence. Authority is built not by the logic of words, but by the force of character. Think of the courtroom of life. The one who rushes to defend looks like the accused. The one who stays calm, silent, and composed looks like the judge. And in every interaction, the judge holds more power than the defendant. Defense creates a cycle where your energy becomes enslaved to others. They attack, you respond, they accuse, you explain. Soon, you are no longer living by your own script, but reacting to theirs. That is the true defeat hidden inside defense. The powerful man learns to reverse the cycle. Instead of defending, he allows silence to frame him as untouchable. Instead of explaining, he lets his actions and results speak. The less he says, the more his presence dominates the room. The illusion fades when you realize defense is not strength, it is surrender in disguise. The one who defends declares himself guilty of seeking approval. The one who refuses declares himself free. And freedom, not defense, is the foundation of power. Silence is not emptiness. It is a blade sharper than words. When you stay quiet, others are forced to fill the void with their own fears, doubts, and assumptions. Your silence becomes a mirror where they project their insecurities. That is why silence can feel more violent than shouting. Powerful men know how to use silence strategically. In a heated argument, silence is disarming. In the face of provocation, silence is intimidating. It makes others uncertain about your thoughts, and uncertainty is the breeding ground of respect and fear. Machiavelli observed that rulers who spoke less were harder to predict and harder to manipulate. Words can be twisted, misinterpreted, or used against you. Silence, however, cannot be broken. It cannot be quoted or distorted. It becomes an unshakable fortress. Consider how generals in history sat quietly while their enemies revealed too much. The more one side talks, the more they reveal. The one who stays silent observes, calculates, and waits for the perfect strike. That is the essence of strategy. Silence also magnifies presence. A man who doesn't rush to answer seems wise, even if he is only thinking. A man who doesn't explain seems powerful, even if he is only calm. Silence creates an aura that words can never buy. But silence must not be confused with passivity. It is not about avoiding conflict, but about choosing the battlefield. By withholding words, you control the rhythm of the encounter. You dictate when the game begins and when it ends. Used correctly, silence is not a retreat. It is an attack disguised as restraint. Those who master it learn that saying nothing often speaks louder than the most eloquent defense. In the theater of power, silence is the script that leaves the audience trembling. One of the most dangerous mistakes is to assume that silence equals weakness. Many underestimate the quiet man, believing his lack of words is a sign of fear or confusion. But in truth, it is a trap. The illusion of weakness allows you to study, observe, and prepare unseen. Machiavelli taught that a ruler should never reveal his true strength until the decisive moment. If people think you are harmless, they lower their guard. They expose their strategies, reveal their intentions, and give you the advantage of invisibility. Silence makes this illusion even stronger. Think of a predator in the wild. It does not roar before it strikes. It hides, it waits, and then it attacks with precision. The quiet man operates the same way. His silence lulls others into comfort, making them careless. That moment of carelessness becomes his weapon. The illusion of weakness also protects you from envy. When others think you are powerless, they don't see you as a threat. This keeps you safe while you build influence in the shadows. Then, when you finally reveal your strength, the impact is multiplied, but the illusion must be carefully managed. Too much silence, and people may dismiss you as irrelevant. The secret is to let them underestimate you just enough without losing respect. That balance is the art of subtle power. History is filled with men who let their enemies believe they were fragile, only to strike when least expected. The more your opponent underestimates you, the harder it becomes for them to defend against you when you finally act. The quiet man does not deny his strength, he simply conceals it. What looks like weakness is actually strategy. And when the curtain rises, the illusion shatters, leaving only the undeniable truth of your hidden authority. Silence is powerful, but so are the words that break it. The man who speaks rarely, yet with precision, commands more respect than the one who floods the air with noise. Each word becomes a weapon, sharpened by restraint and discipline. When you control your speech, you shape the perceptions of others. They begin to weigh your words more heavily, as if every sentence hides a deeper meaning. People lean in, they listen closer, because they sense that silence has already filtered out the unnecessary. Machiavelli warned that careless speech exposes vulnerabilities. The more you reveal, the easier it is for others to predict, manipulate, or counter you. But by speaking little and deliberately, you maintain the advantage of mystery and unpredictability. Controlled speech also amplifies authority. Think of leaders who spoke only when necessary. Their words carried the force of command, not suggestion. Their tone did not beg for attention, it demanded it. This is the essence of strategic communication. Yet control does not mean repression. It means choosing the right moment, the right tone, and the right audience. The silence that precedes your words gives them weight. It creates anticipation, and anticipation magnifies impact. In debates, the one who speaks less often wins more ground. Each response feels like a hammer, not a whisper. The opponent exhausts himself while you conserve strength, striking only when necessary. Power in controlled speech is not about eloquence. It is about discipline. Your words become scarce, valuable, and unforgettable. That scarcity turns even a single sentence into a command that cannot be ignored. To master power, one must master emotions. The man who is enslaved by anger, envy, or fear becomes predictable, and predictability is weakness. Detachment does not mean indifference, it means choosing your response instead of being driven by impulse. When you detach, you gain clarity. You see the battlefield as it is, not as your emotions want it to be. While others drown in their feelings, you remain anchored, calculating, and ready to strike when the moment is right. Machiavelli knew that emotional control was the foundation of leadership. The ruler who panics loses the trust of his people, while the one who remains composed radiates unshakable strength. Calmness under pressure inspires loyalty and fear in equal measure. Detachment also protects you from manipulation. People will test you, provoke you, and try to pull you into their storms. But if you do not react, they lose power over you. Your silence becomes a mirror that reflects their own weakness. This strength is not about coldness, but about balance. You feel emotions, but you do not let them govern your choices. Instead, you harness them like a rider guiding a wild horse, using their energy without being thrown off. The detached man cannot be baited into battles that do not matter. He saves his strength for decisive moments, striking when others are exhausted by their own chaos. Patience becomes his weapon and discipline his shield. Emotional detachment is the art of being untouchable. It gives you freedom, power, and control over both yourself and your surroundings. In the silence of your restraint, others hear the echo of authority. True authority does not always require words to be felt. A man who understands silence carries a presence heavier than speeches. His restraint forces others to anticipate his moves and measure their own. Silence is not absence, it is power in disguise. And when mastered, it becomes a crown no one can remove. In silence, power multiplies because people project their doubts onto you. They wonder what you are thinking, what you plan, and whether you approve or condemn. That uncertainty becomes your hidden weapon. While others reveal themselves with noise, you gain control simply by holding back. Power thrives in mystery, and silence feeds it. Machiavelli knew that words, once spoken, could be turned against you. A single careless phrase might ruin alliances or betray weakness. But silence cannot be twisted, it cannot be reshaped by enemies, and it cannot be weaponized. It stands as an impenetrable fortress. The fewer you say, the less they can strike. Silence also amplifies presence. A man who speaks sparingly ensures that when he does, every word carries weight. People lean in, sensing value in his restraint, and they remember long after. The loud voices eventually fade into the background. But the one who holds back commands the stage with effortless dominance. To rush into explanations is to confess insecurity. Those who justify themselves reveal weakness. But the man who remains silent communicates mastery without effort. His calmness says, "I owe you nothing," and that message is louder than arguments. Such composure radiates strength and creates unshakable respect. Silence here is unchallengeable power. Silence disarms confrontation in ways words cannot. During conflict, your refusal to react leaves your opponent unstable. They raise their voice, expose their desperation, and reveal hidden emotions. You, however, stand untouched. By saying nothing, you make them unravel on their own. Your stillness becomes their mirror of failure and loss. The authority of silence is both shield and weapon. It protects you from exposure while projecting dominance to others. Those who learn it no longer chase respect, they embody it. Each pause becomes a declaration of control, each silence a statement of superiority. In mastering silence, you stop needing to prove yourself at all. True strength requires the courage to step back when necessary. Distance is not weakness, it is a form of control. By removing yourself, you prevent others from reading you fully. You become unpredictable, harder to manipulate, and free from the traps of constant exposure. Absence sharpens your influence. Those who are always available lose their value. Familiarity breeds a false sense of equality that erodes respect. By maintaining distance, you remind others that access to you is earned, not assumed. This scarcity of presence magnifies your importance. People chase what they cannot easily have, and distance fuels that chase. Machiavelli observed that rulers who withdrew strategically became legends. Their absence created myths greater than their presence ever could. People began to speak about them, to speculate on their motives, to exaggerate their power. Distance plants seeds of imagination, and imagination always paints in larger strokes than reality. When you step back, you also gain perspective. Close proximity blinds you to the details of power plays unfolding around you, but distance grants clarity. From afar, you can analyze the moves of others, predict their mistakes, and prepare your strikes. Discipline is knowing when to vanish to see more clearly. Distance protects your energy. Constant engagement drains focus, leaving you vulnerable to exploitation. By setting boundaries, you conserve strength for decisive moments. A disciplined retreat is not surrender but preparation. It is the sharpening of the sword before the decisive battle. Absence becomes the strategy behind dominance, yet distance is powerful only when intentional. Too much withdrawal can breed irrelevance, just as too much presence breeds contempt. The art lies in balance, appearing when impact is greatest and withdrawing when mystery must be restored. This rhythm of approach and retreat ensures perpetual control. The discipline of distance transforms respect into reverence. It makes your presence an event rather than a habit. When you re-enter after absence, your aura feels heavier, your voice more commanding. Authority is no longer demanded, it is assumed. By mastering distance, you do not lose power, you become the source of it. Silence is one of the most underestimated weapons of power. While others rush to fill the air with noise, the disciplined man holds his words. His restraint unsettles those around him. They begin to wonder what he knows, what he plans, and what he hides. Mystery becomes his shield and his sword. Those who speak too much betray themselves. Their emotions, weaknesses, and desires slip through careless words. Silence, on the other hand, denies enemies any weapon to use against you. It keeps your intentions invisible, forcing others to guess. And the unknown is always more intimidating than the known. Machiavelli noted that authority is often born not from loud proclamations, but from quiet presence. A ruler who speaks rarely commands more attention when he finally does. His words carry weight because they are not wasted. Silence transforms speech into a scarce resource, making each phrase a deliberate strike. Silence also sharpens observation. When you stop talking, you begin to listen. You notice shifts in tone, subtle glances, contradictions in stories. You read what others fail to hide. This awareness grants you strategic advantage. Power is not just what you say, it is what you learn when others cannot resist speaking. Yet silence is not passive, it is active control over impulse. It resists the urge to defend, explain, or justify. Every moment of restraint reinforces the perception of strength. By remaining quiet, you do not surrender the stage, you dominate it. You force others to bend to your rhythm of interaction. But silence must be balanced. Eternal withdrawal risks being mistaken for weakness. The secret is to speak rarely but decisively. When your voice breaks the silence, it must strike with clarity, authority, and inevitability. People should remember your words not because you said much, but because you said little with precision. The silent man becomes the axis of any room. His absence of chatter draws more attention than the loudest voice. Authority grows not from endless explanations, but from measured restraint. Silence transforms you into an enigma, and in power games, the enigma always wins. To master silence is to master respect. True power requires distance. The man who clings to every opinion, every insult, every fleeting desire becomes a prisoner of circumstance. Detachment is not indifference, it is mastery over reaction. It allows you to see the battlefield from above while others fight blind in the mud. Detachment is freedom disguised as control. When emotions dictate your steps, you are predictable. Anger, fear, and vanity make you easy to manipulate. Detachment removes the strings others try to pull. It is not the absence of feeling, but the refusal to be ruled by it. To be detached is to choose action over reaction, strategy over impulse. Machiavelli understood that rulers must remain calm when others panic. A detached mind does not collapse under chaos. It weighs options coldly, striking when the enemy is weakest. This distance grants clarity. Where passion blinds, detachment reveals opportunity. In silence and stillness, decisive power is born. Detachment also protects self-respect. When you stop chasing approval, rejection loses its sting. You become untouchable because your worth is no longer hostage to others. Authority flows naturally from a man who needs nothing. To be respected, you must first sever the invisible chains of dependence. Yet detachment is not isolation. It does not mean abandoning relationships or emotions. It means carrying them without being consumed. Love without obsession. Work without slavery. Ambition without desperation. This balance transforms you into a man who holds the world, not one held captive by it. The discipline of detachment must be trained daily. It requires stepping back when pride wants to step forward. It demands silence when ego wants to scream. Each small victory over impulse forges inner armor. In time, you no longer need to detach. You simply exist beyond the reach of chaos. Detachment is the final stage of power. It is not about conquering others, but conquering yourself. When nothing owns you, not fear, not desire, not validation, you are unshakable. The world bows not to those who chase it, but to those who stand immovable as it spins. Detachment is ultimate dominion. Power is not granted to the loudest voice or the strongest hand, but to the one who governs himself first. Discipline, silence, and detachment are not chains, but keys, unlocking authority that cannot be taken away. When you rise above impulse, others cannot drag you down. When you stand still while the world trembles, people look to you for guidance. This is how respect is born, not demanded. Machiavelli taught that true rulers are those who shape themselves before shaping others. Mastery begins within, and once achieved, it radiates outward, making you untouchable, unshakable, and unforgettable.